One thing that I like to try to do for Ryanimation reviews part of this project reboot is for me to start doing internet animation reviews. Or rather, me talking about people more positively. In my past, I did negative reviews on people that did unfortunately put me on the map. While my focus even back then was to review animations as a whole, people flocked to my channel for calling certain people garbage. And it just hit me that I never really did a video on a person in a positive light. So let's change that starting today. I think that I'm going to start with Gould. He will be the first person on this channel that I talk about positively. The first half of this Ryanimation review will talk about Gould as a person. And the second half of this video will talk about Eddsworld as a whole. Which, if you don't know anything about Gould, you wouldn't think much about him other than just the guy who did some stupid internet animations about bacon.
No!
So what? There's probably more in the kitchen anyway.
No, that was the last piece in the house.
Last piece? I'll kill you!
But there's more to Gould than just that. Gould was born on October 28, 1988. As a child, he didn't have that many friends, and was terribly bullied in junior school for being dumb. But he was actually super smart and was into nerd stuff. Yes, the more things changed, the more that they stay the same. He basically said, "Fuck the human race! I'm making cartoons!" He started animating back in 2002 with GIF. It was nothing but a bunch of stick figures that would do things like fart. Hey, we all had silly types of humor when we were kids. My first animation ever that I made back when I was 18 was just a stick figure shooting a guy and then trying to steal his horse, but only for the horse to kick him in the face and then the horse nodded. That may sound cool, but no, it's really stupid. I'm not a big fan of my past works. But then Ed realized that GIF was no longer a working program on the website that he was posting to, so he wasted his time on something that can't fucking work.
Whoopsies.
He then switched to Flash later that year. Now, Flash is a program that started back in November of 1996. First popularized by John Crickfalusi with his George Liquor show. Since then, for the next decade, people everywhere that weren't film would start using this for 2D animation. It was much cheaper and easier to use than hand-drawn animation. That is until Toon Boom came out, since Toon Boom is better. It only took 7 months for Gould to master Flash. And while it wasn't the greatest Flash animation in the world, it was still a hell of a lot better than I could ever do. Ed being socially awkward was one that didn't appreciate failure. Like, if he got one negative comment on one of his videos, he would be sad for the whole day. Ed didn't really know much about friendships at first, so whenever someone enjoyed his content, Ed would want to talk to them. This logic led to Ed having his first friend, Matt. Ed met Matt before his main animation series, for the record. He met Matt at a sporting event in school. He didn't like Matt at first since he was a prick, but he eventually grew on him. When Ed's old friend left, it was just him and Matt in secondary school. Ed liked drawing his new friends into comics. His words, not mine. Also, apparently the name Eddsworld was a parody of Wayne's World. Ed and Matt built their friendship better by playing Neopets together. I, never played that online game, so I wouldn't get the, context in the situation. In early production, Ed would often kill Matt in his stick figure animations, which Matt did not like. Call him the Kenny McCormick of the group if you want. Then again, Ed posted to a website called sticksuicide.com. That website is now called www.explosion.net. So I don't know what Matt was expecting. Ed did these animations from 2001 to 2003. The guy that makes Cyanide and Happiness now owns this. Now, the first friend that Ed met through his Eddsworld animations is Tom. Tom would spam messages to Ed in 2003 when he was 12 saying that he loves his animations. He would spam things like, "This is the best animation I have ever seen," or "Please be friends with me." Tom's words, not mine. Then the two really got to know each other in 2004 with Ed's animations on Newgrounds at the time, since YouTube wasn't a thing yet. Tom would be in charge of Eddsworld all the way up to 2016. Christopher Bingham is currently in charge of Eddsworld as of May 2022, i.e. the time that this Ryanimation review is being uploaded. Tom was officially on in late 2003 with a quote-unquote contract. Let me read this contract out loud. I, Tom, hereby agree I shall be a mentor of the Eddsworld Elite Force. I accept my reasonable abilities as a animator, drawer, and email answerer. If I ever quit, I shall stick a gun to my head and kill myself. Or I will just stop animating, full stop. This contract from 15-year-old Ed is adorable. Where where do I begin? First of all, it's not even spelled right in many places. Secondly, there are run-on sentences or just random gaps. Third, email answerer ain't a real thing, plus contracts can't tell you to kill yourself. Fourthly, minors can't sign contracts in real life. But fifth and finally, the most adorable thing about this is that it was made in MS Paint. Aw, that's so cute. Funny story about Tom. He didn't even voice him at first when he was introduced in 2004. That was actually voiced by Alex L. Abe. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. I legit don't know how to pronounce his last name. In 2005, Tom would finally voice his character, Tom. Because who else? The only reason why he didn't prior is because he didn't have a microphone.
I got involved with Eddsworld somewhere along the lines of like 11 or so years ago when I first met Ed on a website called Stick Suicide. So when I became one of his friends, he drew me, even though I wasn't voicing my own character at that time.
I guess we'll just have to judge who's naughty and who's nice.
A lot of the information that I was able to dig up did come from Ed's old DeviantArt. You asked for it! You got it! No, it's not waffles! Okay then. Ed's DeviantArt is full of his comics and fan drawings. But DeviantArt isn't the site that got him to become famous. That would be YouTube. Some would argue that Newgrounds laid the path to Eddsworld becoming famous, but YouTube is where the fame truly is. Ed didn't use YouTube at first, but he did after the site existed for a year. Ed started his channel on March 16, 2006, and uploaded his first video 2 days later called Towards Adventure.
What? This means war.
And then over the next 16 years, the channel would gain over 3 million subscribers. And for the next 6 years of his life, Ed would probably be the happiest that he would ever be, even finally reaching adulthood doing so. I really do wish I could have met Ed, because he sounds like one of the most interesting people to have ever lived. Unfortunately, that would have never been possible. On March 25th, 2012, Ed Gould passed away. He was battling cancer for his entire adult life, more or less saying, "Welcome to adulthood, Ed! Let me introduce you to a thing called cancer." The message of this video here is, fuck cancer! But seriously, I lost a family member of mine in 2017 due to cancer, so cancer isn't a laughing matter. And I was only 15 at the time of Ed's death. And I don't think my mom would have been fine with me flying from America to England by myself to meet someone from the internet that was 23 at the time.
In 2006, Ed did actually get leukemia. But luckily, he was able to fight it off. Had he died right then and there, Eddsworld would have never happened.
This, of course, led to a controversy with Eddsworld, as in...
Now what?
Like, how do you continue Eddsworld without Ed himself? This was a difficult question that the team had to ask. Do you just end the series right there and never go back to it? Well, that would have disappointed the fans, especially since the last episode that Ed himself worked on was a part 1 of a part 2 episode. Although, the replacement voice for Ed did voice the character Ed in the episode.
Hey Edheads, Tom here. I hope you enjoyed this episode and are looking forward to part 2. This episode was of course broken into 2 parts because unfortunately the show's creator Ed Gould has passed away.
Eventually, they did decide to make a decision to continue Eddsworld even after Ed's death. If my research is correct, I think that Ed was fine with it.
Ed's final wish was for his world to keep on spinning. And in June 2012, Eddsworld Legacy was created under the banner Save the Show, Save the World.
Now, sometimes a person can make something based off a famous good person and fuck it up. Like the wacky world of Tex Avery. Would Frederick have loved himself being cheated on? No, he would not! Would Stan Lee love Stan Lee's superhero kindergarten after how they killed him once in one episode? Fuck no! The people behind Eddsworld had immense respect for Ed. I mean, they were Ed's friends, so that kind of helps. Now, Ed needed a new voice for this project for obvious reasons. A lot of people did try out. Then they settled on a person named Tim Kite. George Gould took over the voice in 2020. In 2012, a Kickstarter was started for Eddsworld to continue the series despite Ed being gone. Often being called Eddsworld, Save the Show, Save the World. The actual name was Eddsworld Legacy. The goal for the Kickstarter was $50,000, but $83,212 was made, making it over its limit. For this video, despite Eddsworld taking place in the United Kingdom, I will be referring to the USD currency system. But if you must know, $50,000 is 40,019.25 pounds, and $83,212 is 66,601.64 pounds. This was all done in just a total of 60 days. A lot of this money would go to charities helping people battle cancer. The most notable one being Teenage Cancer Trust. Not everything about the Kickstarter went smoothly. To be fair, I've seen worse. But for Eddsworld, some of the highest donators who were promised Eddsworld comic books, they didn't receive what they paid for until over a year and a half later. Tom will even have to make an apology letter to over 200 people because of this issue. Even the promised DVD in the Kickstarter was cancelled, though the money used for it would go into the show. There are 5 eras of Eddsworld: Pre-Eddsworld, Newgrounds era, Golden era, Legacy era, and Beyond era. Production on Eddsworld became much bigger. People like Thomas Ridgewell and Yoav Landau
And Lil Deuce Deuce
came in to work on the show. Over the years, the fan base grew, and as you might imagine, many fan projects were made. There was even a fan animation on Eddsworld called Tao's Tales of Ecstasy, released in 2017, shortly after Eddsworld the main series ended. It sadly didn't get to be a full-on animation like it was originally planned as, but it was nice for what we got.
We'd make it DLC so you'd pay more money for it. The devs agreed to it, right?
Huh, those guys must be stuck working at Blizzard more than EA. Then again, this animation was made before we knew that Blizzard sucked.
Okay, boys. Drop him in the pool.
You know, that don't sound too bad.
Without floaties. That was my ducking!
This one is easily my favorite joke. Oddly enough, I was introduced to Eddsworld thanks to fan projects. While I heard of Eddsworld in 2014, oddly enough thanks to the Living Tombstones music video on it, I didn't really check it out at the time. It wasn't until earlier this year that I decided to finally watch the full series. I'm a huge fan of Friday Night Funkin'. Whenever I play any mod, I always wait for that sweet "Get freaky on a Friday night, yeah." Yeah, just like Amphibia that I stated in my previous Ryanimation review, Eddsworld was brought to me thanks to Friday Night Funkin'. Thank you for watching this video. This video was edited
by me, Jedibrad.
If you liked the video that you saw, consider supporting me on Patreon in the description below. Your name will appear at the end of every video, and your OC will be at the beginning of every video. To follow me on any other piece of social media, please check the description below. Thank you for watching. StarGiantProductions out.
Jedibrad out.